Hello, my name is Bailey Lemry, and here's my student ID. Alright, so I'm going to be talking about Sigmund Freud's three components of personality. Now, a little bit about Sigmund Freud. He was an Australian neurologist, and he's also well known for discovering psychoanalysis in 1856. Now, psychoanalysis is still a method we use today. It's basically just a conversation between a patient and a psychoanalyst or therapist. Now, Freud introduced his theory of the three components of personality in 1896, and basically his theory suggests that our personality is made up of three components: the ID, ego, and superego, and these three components work together and complement one another to form our personality. And the key to having a solid personality is having an equal mix between the three of them. Now, the ID we have at birth, it's all of our natural needs, wants, desires that we have as soon as we're born. We can't control them. It's our unconscious part of our personality. And some of these needs are things such as hunger, thirst, love, sex, even aggression. Our ID is based off of the pleasure principle, and the pleasure principle is the gratification of all needs, wants, and desires. The ID is very important in the infant stage because as an infant, you haven't had time to develop your ego or superego. So you don't really know how to satisfy your desires and needs appropriately. So that's why infants tend to just cry anytime they want something, because they don't know how else to satisfy these needs. So anytime they're hungry, tired, thirsty, they just cry until they get what they want eventually. Humans can't control their ID at first. That's why infants resort to crying. But over time, as our ego and superego kind of form, we learn to control our ID a little bit. Now, the goal of the ego is to kind of maximize pleasure and minimize pain. It's the part of our personality that faces reality. So basically, our ego helps us fulfill these needs and desires. It helps us decide which route we're going to take to satisfy our needs. The ego is based off of the reality principle, and the reality principle is basically what helps us satisfy our needs in appropriate ways versus doing ways or using ways that basically aren't acceptable in society, such as maybe like stealing or things like that. We do have a process called delay gratification. Now, delay gratification basically helps us choose when and where we're going to fulfill our needs. So that kind of helps us control our ID a little bit more. It helps us decide, okay, it wouldn't be right to satisfy my need right here, right now. So I'm going to wait till I'm either at a certain place or till it's a certain time before I fulfill my need. Ego is assisted by the superego. Now, the superego is basically our moral guide of right and wrong. We start developing our superego around the age of 5, and basically the superego helps the ego when it comes to deciding what are the right ways of fulfilling our needs and what are the wrong ways of fulfilling our needs. It helps us avoid the wrong ways. Our superego is kind of taught to us by our parents and the world around us. Our superego is made up of basically what we know is right and wrong in the world. So like from a young age, we start developing this. It's when we do something, are we punished for it? And if we are punished for it, that helps us prevent from prevent ourselves from making that mistake later on in the future. It's basically how we keep ourselves civilized. We use our superego to civilize all of our actions and make it to where we don't get in trouble for our actions. And this is important because if we don't have our superego, then there would be kind of chaos. People would want to be satisfying needs just by doing whatever they can right then and now to satisfy them, whether it's, stealing, like I mentioned earlier, or using violence to get what they want. It wouldn't be right, and there would be all kinds of chaos. Now, a reason criminals might commit a criminal act is because their superego hasn't been fully developed, or maybe it's damaged. Maybe they didn't have parents to teach them right from wrong at a young age. Therefore, later on in life, they don't really think about the negative actions that could happen if they were to satisfy their need by stealing, So without a superego, you don't really have that portion of your personality to help you decide what's right or wrong when fulfilling your needs. So yeah, that's basically a little bit about Sigmund Freud's 3 components of personality.